Hello, everybody. I'm here again today to talk a little bit more about genetics with you. Now, this is going to be our final slideshow of the unit that we've had on inherited traits. We've talked about a lot of different things with regard to genetics and the inheritance of traits and how traits are passed on from parents to offspring in all living things, plants and animals. So we will talk about a few final things. This is sort of a review slideshow. Okay, it's things that we've already talked about, but it's the main points that I really want you to understand and to take out of this unit as we conclude. So, what is genetics? Genetics is the study of genes and heredity, passing of traits from generation to generation. Your parents are one generation and you are the next generation. And your grandparents were the generation before your parents, okay? So genes carry the information that determines which traits you will have. Remember, inside your genes are what's called DNA. And DNA contain the code, sort of like the instructions for the development of your body parts, your hair, eyes, nose, mouth, ears, everything. Traits. All living things have traits or characteristics that determine what they will look like and act like. Notice how it says not only look like, but act like, because we did learn that behaviors are inherited through our DNA as well. A trait can be a physical feature such as hair color or the size of your nose. Traits can also be behaviors, which is how someone or something acts or responds to its environment. This is important here. Oops, that always happens. How something responds to its environment, okay? So a couple examples are that if you think about a plant, when a plant is sitting in a window, or even if it's outside, I see it all the time right outside of my apartment, the plant leans towards the sun. Some of these bushes are like this because the sun is always over here, so it's leaning that way to absorb more sunlight. That's a behavior that plants have. Another thing is that we learned in our last slideshow sort from the other day, animals can hunt, dig, and hibernate or migrate. Those are inherited behaviors, animal instincts that are coded in the DNA. When animals, over thousands and thousands of years have evolved to what they currently are, their behaviors are what allowed them to adapt to their environment. And because they were able to adapt to their environment, those behaviors, those inherited behavioral traits, became coded in the animal's DNA and their instincts. So when an animal is born, they have those instincts. Animals become adults much quicker than humans. Some animals become adults in a month. Some animals become adults in a day. Some insects, flies, become adults in one day. So their instincts to fly are all inherited behaviors. They are not learned or acquired behaviors. They're instinct. Eating. Okay, when a caterpillar is born, it hatches from its egg. The adult butterfly lays the egg on a leaf, so that again, that's another behavioral instinct that is inherited, to lay the egg on the leaf so that when the caterpillar hatches, it's on the leaf and it can eat the leaf. It just starts eating because it's an instinct. It's a behavior that's inherited, and all living things need food for fuel. Here are some examples of this. Is just like what we did the other day. Physical features. Physical means things you can see and touch. And then behaviors, the way we act. The shape of a leaf is inherited. Obviously, we see leaves like this. We see leaves that look sort of like just one little part here. It doesn't have the three parts. So different leaves look different ways. The color of an animal's fur, just like we talked about hair color, with the Punnett square and those kind of things, okay, different traits come out. The alleles are like the flavor. Blonde, brown, dark brown or black, um, like an auburn, like a reddish color, hair or fur, orange cats, that kind of thing. So those traits are passed down. Hairstyle, whether it's straight, curly, thin, thick, frizzy, all different kinds of hair style. Hair color, even the size and shape of features like noses, chins, ears, eyes. Some people have more of an almond-shaped eye. Some people have wide eyes, big eyes. Some people have more thin eyes. So those things are all inherited as well. Physical traits. Height is another one. Body type is another one. There's 3 different body types that people can be born with, and that is inherited as well. So here are some behaviors. Okay, birds know to build a nest. That is something that is not learned from another bird. That is something that the bird does instinctually. It is in their DNA to do so. As I said, the plants, here, look, they're growing towards the sun. Okay? Laughing. Babies laugh when they're born. They cry when they're born. Okay, oh, look here, laughing and crying. 2 behavioral instincts that babies have. Babies come out crying because they're uncomfortable, because they've never experienced anything before. So every feeling or sensation that a baby has is new. That's why babies cry so much. They either feel scared or they are uncomfortable, hungry, things of that nature. But they also find laughter. They laugh at things, like interacting with its parent. Oh, rolling your tongue. Is it? Oh, I think this is talking about maybe language, the way that that I don't know, rolling your tongue. I don't really see how that one fits in, but anyway, let's move on. How do we get our traits? We get our traits in different ways. Some traits are passed down from parent to offspring, from children. Oh, offspring could be referred to as children or young. These are called inherited traits. If you received a trait because of your parents having that trait is inherited, meaning it's passed down and it's in your genetic code, your DNA. So how do we get? Oops, this is the one we're on. Okay, so here is a little bit about DNA. Inherited traits come from our genes, which are made up of DNA. DNA is the material that carries all the information about how a living thing will look and function. Function means act, how it will act or respond to its environment. So we talked about DNA and how there's 4 chemicals that make up DNA. Now let's just look here and let's just use this picture as an example. This is a great visual. Let's just say there's a purple, a green, a blue, and a pink. Okay, those are the only 4 that you see. But here you can see the purple and the green go together to give instruction in a certain way for a body part or a body function or behavior. Then blue and pink go together. That will give a different code. Green and purple will go together, but look, it's reversed than here. So that will give it even different code, okay? And so it repeats, and the instructions are very, very, very tiny, tiny, tiny. You need a microscope to see it. It's at the molecular level, but those tiny things build up to make our bodies, or a plant's body or an animal's body, and this is the biology and the science behind how we are formed. Okay, so that's all we're going to talk about today. The DNA, and how we get our traits, which we talked about. They're passed down. Each trait, you get 1 allele from your mom and 1 allele from your father, and then depending on the the genetic lottery and the inheritance of traits, and think of the Punnett square. You might get the dominant gene more times than not. People will get the dominant gene. Remember, 75% of the time, or 3/4. Now that we're doing fractions, 3 out of every 4 times, you might get the dominant, and then 1 out of every 4 times, somebody might get the recessive gene. Okay, we talked about different traits. Remember, traits are either physical features, the way we look, or the way we act as living things. All right, that's it for today. I'm going to give you just a couple short questions for today to respond to this video, and then we'll do one more day to finish up the slideshow, and then we'll review, and then we'll be at the end of our unit. All right, so have a great day.